Hello everyone, my name is Georgia Fuller, and today I will be discussing the impact of invasive plant species on the California wildfires that happened earlier this year. It was quite a devastating natural disaster and one of the worst wildfire outbreaks Southern California has ever seen, and there were many complex factors that led to the spreading of these fires. There are many negative effects of wildfires, which is why this complex issue is so relevant to us. Wildfires can contaminate local water sources with surface runoff and cause severe air quality issues that can lead to respiratory health problems for those in the area. They can clear out native animals and can skew the natural food chain as well. Many livestock farms lost animals to these fires, and California natives experienced the drastic loss of their pets to the heat and the smoke as well. Wildfires can lead to power and property loss, displacing hundreds of people like we saw earlier this year. It ruins the soil and allows for invasive plant species to grow first and faster, reducing the native plant species' ability to regenerate. It is truly a devastating natural disaster. Now, California is quite prone to wildfires to begin with, as the natural climate is dry and the region experiences many drought periods that can extend well beyond the normal range. Because of this, any sort of fuel or ignition that could possibly occur anywhere in this area is bound to catch fire simply due to the extreme dryness. Southern California's environment is also a natural breeding ground for a host of invasive plant species, which thrive in the warm weather and tend to germinate at a quicker rate post-burn than native plant species. For example, many invasive grasses serve as fuel for the wildfires as they are dense and easily ignite, allowing the fire to catch quickly and spread very rapidly. They do not possess the same minor heat and fire-resistant qualities that the native grasses do, so they are essentially tinder for any sort of spark. For a visual aid, here's an example of an invasive plant species and its native replacement. Hedera helix is an invasive English ivy that often grows so viciously that it chokes any other plants in the surrounding area. Its native counterpart, Heuchera maxima, should be planted instead as a proper alternative. Much of the spread of invasive species is due to simply planting the wrong seeds in favor of appearance. If we use seeds that are native to our region instead, we reduce the risk of fires and upset to the ecosystem. It does go to note that wildfires do have some benefits in certain situations, particularly with germination and the spreading of seeds. Some tree species have evolutionary adaptations where their seeds close up when exposed to significant heat and then are buried deep in the soil where they open and bloom post-burn. Especially with the first heavy rainfall after a wildfire, many native species will regenerate within the soil and then continue to populate the region as normal. Fires can also serve as a natural weeding method and can clear large areas of land quickly if needed. However, wildfires destroy too many native species too quickly and are often triggered by invasive species more frequently. As a result, plant biodiversity suffers because of thermophilization, which is described in a study by Jens T. Stevens and fellow scientists to be the phenomenon where plants regrow with differently adapted qualities to account for increased water and heat stress. There is a replacement of native species with these differently adapted species, causing an upset in the normal ecosystem. As you can see, here are some data samples from a study done in several natural reserves in Southern California. Invasive species are highly flammable and not fire resistant like the native species are, meaning that they catch fire quickly and easily and can spread rapidly. This creates a vicious cycle affecting the soil, air, and water qualities. Over time, this can cause a higher percentage of native plant species to more easily succumb to each subsequently occurring wildfire. Something else interesting is another study done by Justin M. Valliere and fellow researchers who explored the effects of nitrogen deposits in the soil in relation to both native and non-native plant species. Wildfires by nature cause nitrogen deposits to congregate in the soil or earth of a burn site. which can hasten the deterioration of native plant species. Too much nitrogen is toxic to these native plants, but studies are showing that invasive plant species may not be as negatively affected by the deposits and therefore are capitalizing on the open space and absence of native plant species to repopulate first. This causes the rich biodiversity and abundant population of native species to greatly reduce, as they are overtaken by the non-native species which thrive in their place. This repeats the cycle over and over, with native forb and grass cover as well as native richness being greatly reduced in favor of non-native shrubs. This slide is a depiction of some of the damage done by wildfires in Southern California earlier this year. These images, which are taken by the California Department of Fishing and Wildlife during their recuperation efforts, shows the drastic loss of land, property, and natural resources. Shown here is a reporting of news outlet Fox 10 Phoenix discussing a study from Southwest Fire Science Consortium. It briefly summarizes the dangers of invasive plant species in relation to wildfire statistics and how they easily germinate and spread their seeds to continuously provide tinder for more fires to start. Attached below is the link to the article where you can see the news report in full. Recovery efforts are vital to this complex issue in order to help the region rebuild as quickly as possible. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife is an incredible resource, as the organization is at the helm of recovery efforts and has created the Wildlife Resiliency Initiative to map out the plan for rebuilding the area. Workers are planting native fire-resistant species, removing dry brush and non-native grasses, and creating fire resiliency projects to demonstrate safe practices. Californians are also encouraged to follow proper camping regulations when outside and avoid excess fuel usage during dry seasons to reduce the risk of starting a fire by accident. Included in this slide is also a link to the organization's website, where you can find additional resources, information, and places to donate or show your support. Now, you might be wondering, why should you care if you don't live in California? While this information is specific to the region of Southern California, a wildfire can happen anywhere and at any time. People's lives are being ruined and upended by these terrible fires, and it's destroying a great section of the planet that we all live on. It ruins the air and the atmosphere, it causes long-term damage to the land, and it's changing the ecosystem as we speak. It's our job to protect the planet and our fellow people as best as we can, and it starts by being informed of the causes, effects, and solutions of and to these natural disasters. Making sure to do the research on what plants are native to your specific state and region before planting seeds can help prevent the spread of invasive plant species. This can also look like implementing proper weeding practices, which means removing invasive species such as honeysuckle, in Ohio is a good example, and disposing of them safely. Not every bush, tree, or flower needs to be removed at once, but the less we allow them to spread, the better. And the more we know, the more we can help. Thank you all for watching.